Hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Katie Conkin. I'm the Director of Development and Communications. So happy to see so many people here. I know summer's a really hard time sometimes to come to events and to get involved. People are traveling away, and so it really means a lot to have you here with us. As you likely know from some of our email updates, we've got some exciting things for you today. We're going to be looking back at our 140th anniversary, the 100th anniversary of the United Church of Canada. We're going to give you some updates about our redevelopment and, very exciting, unveil some of the artwork of the new building. And then we're going to close off by hearing from our new staff lawyer, Vinson Shih, about his work specifically to improve homeland rights for tenants in BC. And just to get us started, I want to welcome us all by acknowledging that we're on the traditional, unceded, and stolen lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, Aquameo, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And I really want to invite a specific moment of reflection and gratitude to those host nations today, because we're going to be highlighting artworks that are feature points of our new building that are being created by Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh artists. And incorporating host nation artwork into the exterior of the building and urban Indigenous artworks inside is and was a really important choice to us. Colonization has erased cultures and histories of the people who have stewarded this land for generations since time immemorial. And we're navigating through our journey of reconciliation and reflecting on how we can incorporate decolonization into our mission and our work. And we thought it was really critical to draw attention, to really highlight in the ways that we could, the rich artistic practices and cultures of communities whose land was stolen and whose practices have actively been suppressed. So we're incredibly grateful for all of the artists who have shared their artistic vision and works with us to make the building possible, which we're going to get to see some of today. And I invite you to drop into the chat box whose land you're joining us from today. And if you're not sure, there's a fantastic website. It's called nativeland.ca. So you can go there. One of my colleagues will drop it into the chat box and you can type in your address and find out whose land you're on. So I invite you all to do that and to share where you're joining us from. Thanks, Nick. You got the link there on the side. So there have been some big milestones lately, some big things happening. I know many of you probably know, many of you were probably there, but on May 4th, we celebrated our 140th birthday, and we were joined by staff and their families, past and present, friends, volunteers, board members, past and present, donors, funders, and so many from our community to help mark the occasion. You also may have seen a digital birthday card that we circulated, and many of you signed as well. And I was refreshing myself today about that digital birthday card in preparation for today. And we're going to share the link in there so you can take a look if you want. But there are just so many dozens of messages of well wishes and congratulations. And I was just so struck by the messages of gratitude for First United. So many messages saying thank you for what you do. And it really kind of struck me because this is, everything we do with your help. Everyone here, whether you volunteered, donated, received our emails, signed our petitions, you're helping make this work possible in really clear, tangible ways. And so we should really be extending our gratitude to you, all of our supporters. But it was still very nice to see those messages of gratitude. So take a look at that link. It should be in the chat box and feel some nice warm and fuzzies. So in the lead up to our 140th, we did a lot of reflection about our history, of course. So much in our city, in our culture, in our organization has changed since we had that very first service back in 1885. But what hasn't changed is the pursuit of dignity, belonging, and justice. For more than a century, We've been the church of the open door. We've stood shoulder to shoulder with our community, and we've worked to create a neighborhood where every person's worth is celebrated and all people can thrive. And learning more about our history, about our different programs, our different buildings over time, really just, it's quite inspiring, and it really fills me with a lot of hope for what we're going to be doing in the future. So if you receive our newsletter, either in your inbox or physically in the mail, we've got a really lovely story in it this month about our anniversary. And there's a part of it that quotes something that Bob said and shared at our anniversary event that I really want to highlight. Bob shared, "The story of First United is about the people, the guests and the staff, the volunteers, the community, the people who gave what they could and those who received more than they expected. It's about a church that didn't just talk about hope, it lived it, still does." And so thank you, Bob, so much for those words that just really landed so beautifully in our hearts and is carrying us forward for maybe another 140 years. Of course, it hasn't been just our anniversary that we've been reflecting on, though. The United Church of Canada also celebrated its 100th anniversary in June. And so the theme, as I'm sure many of you know, was deep, bold, daring. And I know a lot of folks here took part in special services and activities for the centennial. And so I would love to invite you to write into the chat box about how you got involved in the 100th anniversary and or what deep, bold, and daring means to you. A little reflection and sharing on that. Again, in preparing for this, I did my own reflection on those terms. And what I really took away from that reflection and thinking about these really huge milestones is the incredible care and connection that's held for all of us here at First, for the community we serve in the downtown east side, and for other communities of faith. I've seen that the United Church has deep love for people, regardless of their background or circumstance. It has a bold vision for what justice looks like in today's world. And it's daring in how it stands up for its values. And it feels really, really special to not only celebrate our own 140th birthday, 140th anniversary, but also to be a part of a 100th anniversary with each of you and with the United Church of Canada. So please pop into the chat again what deep, bold, and daring means to you. I don't see any responses yet, but we'd love to see some, or what you did to get involved with that 100th anniversary. You guys can pop those in as you wish throughout the presentation. So a lot of looking back, a lot of looking at the past, but now we're also looking to the future. And so we have some updates about our new home, our building to be. And so I'll pass the mic over to our Executive Director, Amanda Burrows.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Yes, bold. I feel like First United in our legacy and the work that we're doing and that we continue to carry forward, we will continue to be bold and very bold indeed in these days. And we wrote a bold op-ed that was published last night and today that I'm going to remark on a bit more in a bit. So our redevelopment, it is so exciting to walk to and from this place every day. I don't go to it specifically. I walk past it because I actually live in the downtown east side. So I just want to be able to share some exciting news. I mean, can you see the slides okay? You can see that the hoarding. Do we have our slide deck up?
They should be up. If somebody else could say if they see the slide deck, that would be great.
I mean, I have the building behind me.
No, we only see Amanda.
This over here. This.
Yeah, we only see Amanda. There's no slide deck. There we go.
Hey there.
Ta-da!
Apologies, folks.
Yeah. I think the other slides were pictures of people eating cake. So we will circulate them though, right? So the two buildings. So one of the photos is from just a few weeks ago, and then the most recent one where you're going to see the dignity, belonging, and justice off the side. So why that's come down, it's kind of exciting, is they're removing the hoarding right now. Actually, today it's gone to do some more work on the exterior, which means we're getting closer to the home stretch. And where is the home stretch? Well, we are on pace to be done in January, and then you get occupancy after, if you're aware of how that works. As we, learn, there's, walkthroughs and different permits that you have to get. But we are aiming that by March, we would be, our anchor programs like our food program, our advocacy, taxes, help desk, et cetera, are all back in the building and fully operational. So folks, it's July, it's the end of July. How many months is that left to go? Like, it's so exciting, and it's going to be here before we know it. And just, we feel very prepared and grounded in what we're doing and the pace that we're moving at, and couldn't be, and where I say, as an executive director in this organization, if people ask me if I'm stressed about this project, I'm not at all. I have deep stress about the community and constant existential threats against the community at large. But actually, in our work, in our operations, and this redevelopment, like I said, we are so grounded and prepared that it is such a great place to be at in this energy. And things come up, and wait, isn't that end date 1 week later than you said it was going to be? Like, there are moments like this, of course. There's lease agreements, airspace parcels, all of these details that we're navigating and going into, but they are just, there's no stress there. And what a place to be. I also want to share, I'm going to share a pre-share. We're launching our volunteer program in the fall, like a really big volunteer program. We will not be able to operate this program at full capacity without the support of our volunteers. We are so excited to be able to welcome lots of folks back who want to volunteer in certain very distinct shifts that we're creating right now. And I'll give you a spoiler alert. We have a coffee shop on the first floor that we're creating, one done with such dignity. You come in, you can get treats, you can get coffee, you can sit like in a coffee shop. It's free. And we envision this as being volunteer run and driven, where there's a shift in the morning, a shift in the afternoon, or maybe you're a community of faith and you want to take the full day. So this is something that we're building right now, and we can't wait to share with so many people, whether you're a community of faith or not. This is just one opportunity to have a very distinct shift where you can come in, support, even bring in some treats if you'd like, but helping to serve coffee and hanging out with people that want to come to our coffee shop. So we can't wait. And as far as fundraising, everyone always asks, in case you wanted to know, we're $3.5 million away from our $37 million target. We're super on pace with that as well. Again, when I say that this project isn't holding this incredible amount of stress, it holds urgency and excitement. The fundraising isn't giving us a lot of stress either. We're on pace, even ahead of it a bit. It is the dog days of summer. In the summer, you always kind of feel a little slowdown when it comes to fundraising. But in September, we will ramp up, and you will see our brick campaign come back even more at that time of year. And it will be one of the last opportunities for people to really get involved in such a hands-on legacy way to buy a brick for this building. And we hope that people don't want to miss on that opportunity. So speaking of bricks, we have lots of fun ways that we're capturing this project, including time lapse. So before we premiere the video of the time lapse, I just really want to share, and again, really highlight why we're doing this type of work and this art, is that we believe that art tells stories, that art tells part of the human condition, that can develop different ways of empathy and understanding. And part of that art is also in our work of reconciliation and action. What we wanted to do there was make it meaningful, which means we are on unceded territories of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, and as such, wanted that representation on our building. And if you've seen our art video before, it really helps to describe how important it is to have a sense of community, culture, and belonging, and how important it is in lower income neighborhoods that we're creating beautiful spaces for all people to enjoy, and not just the urban fabric of different wealthier neighborhoods. So even though social policy doesn't require us to do this type of artwork on the exterior of our building, we wanted to do it anyway. And so we're excited to show you what it's going to look like. Now, this is the courtyard, so it's kind of the exterior interior. So it's the interior of the building in our courtyard, and you're seeing the exterior. And this is where the advocacy or legal clinic will be in this cantilever portion. So it's about a 30-second or minute video. Enjoy the world premiere.
Bear with me for 1 minute while
We're
I sort this. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm really honored to be asked to work with First United to be the voice of, I would look at it as our history. The downtown east side, wouldn't it be beautiful if they could put their hands on their own history or put their hands on something that connects you to not just what we can see, but what we can't see, because that's where the strength comes from. Strength doesn't come from feeling like you don't belong. Maybe seeing a building that has these beautiful patterns on it, which are geometrically in every culture. Once you see it and you enter the building, you're part of it. It doesn't matter what religion you are or color you are. This is for everyone, not just one particular group of people. We all need to heal.
Thank you. So here is what the brick pattern, these are real photos. I know we see a rendering behind me here, but these capture what the brick actually looks like, and it is stunning. It is, when you're in that space and you're amongst this, I've been able to be in there a few times, and I just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And this community deserves beautiful things and representation. So here's the two final looks. And I just really want to underscore a bit of what we've been shared with us and taught about Coast Salish design. So I think a lot of folks might be really familiar with what's called the Northern Form Line, which you see a lot in Haida art. It's really beautiful. It's great. But it's referenced and represented so much in art galleries. And Salish art from a while back was seen as more simple. And these are words that our consultancy host gave us, that it was less detailed and deemed less valuable, which is not true at all, as you can see. So as a result, many artists were unable to make a living doing Salish art and started doing more of the Northern Form Line design. And so this consultancy group that we worked with host really wants to elevate this art form again. And there's been significant revitalization the last decade, and of course, including our project, where many artists are breaking free from this very arbitrary high and low art. And now we're celebrating this art form that is ubiquitous and common to this land. And we are just so thrilled that Deborah Sparrow of Musqueam has this artwork. Also, you have been introduced to Mac Paul before. They're a Musqueam artist. This is them there. They were featured on another Toast Talk talking more about this project and their commitment and engagement with this art. Well, I'm happy to, this is sort of an unveiling of one of the pieces that's going on the Gore side above the residential entrance. And so this is an orca. It's done in 3 panels. The first one that you don't see would be the head of the whale. This is, of course, the fin, and then the last one's the tail. They are light boxes. They light up. It's beautiful, and we can't wait to see it fully installed, of course. Mac is also doing the Hastings side of the panels, which we'll reveal those soon. We're doing some color matching, and those are also pretty stunning Salish designs as well. And you'll see those probably in September. And I just want to read an artist statement, something that Mac Paul has described their art before. With that in mind, for this collaboration, it is important that part of my art is centered around welcoming, to not only provide a sense of place, but also create a safe, comfortable place for the Indigenous residents. It has long time coming for our people to be recognized on our territory with our unique design. As I continue to grow and evolve as an artist, this opportunity comes as a great next step in my journey into public art. We are just so happy to be working with Mac on this and can't wait for you to see all the other designs. The next big design that we're doing are the solar shade panels on the side of the Gore Street, those long strips there. And you can see this is the design. This is done by Tsleil-Waututh artist Ocean Highland. And they will be in 4 different panels like that in the shades. The first one is representation of cedar boughs. The next is salmon. The next one are ferns, and the next one are shells. And they're in those colors. And when it's up against, when you're walking past this and you see there's all this white on the side, it's stunning. And you just know they're going to come alive. And they're a few stories high, so they're going to be very dramatic and big. And then we hope to have her in the fall as well, describing a little bit more about her process and representation. But again, there's cedar boughs, salmon, fern, and shells on each of those, and they'll each be repeated once. There's 8 shades, so you'll see it each twice on the side, which is amazing. So I just want to end on, I alluded to it, Michael brought it up, on the op-ed that we published today, I guess, last night today, in the Vancouver Sun, that was in response to an op-ed that was written that described the downtown east side as a failed experiment last week. And frankly, it wasn't hard to write, because we read last week about the description of the downtown east side felt so untrue. There's some factual issues of it too, but it felt so untrue and not a representation was happening in the community that we felt we had to say something. Especially when you're thinking through all of the culture in this community and the decades and centuries that this community has represented here. To just try and erase it again and say it's a failed experiment is such incredible, harmful rhetoric, when we know that this community is one that has the power of culture, the power of resilience, the power of survival, and we know the solutions in going forward. And one of those solutions is the work that we are doing at First United and this building. This building is meant to revitalize a community by not displacing it or gentrifying it. And if this is in fact what other folks in this community or elected officials actually want for this community, this project of ours at First United, First Ford should be replicated in the downtown east side and replicated across the city to actually then agree with what they're trying to do. There is no way that we could live in a place where we are going to allow more erasure of this community at First United, that we've been here 140 years, that we are not going to stand up and stand for this community, to even, dare I say, protect it. To protect it. Why can't we have communities where there are lower income people that feel welcomed, not judged, and that they belong? The downtown east side is one of those communities. We are not ignoring the fact of the absolute need and complexity of the issues that we see before us, but we know 2 simple solutions in this complex environment will solve many things, which are safe supply and supportive housing. And I know if we put stigma, put fear, put politics aside, we can come together as a community to solve or help and support this crisis together. But it starts with changing our own hearts and minds and destigmatizing this community. These are humans. These are our neighbors. And we are called to do no wrong to our neighbor, which includes people living in the downtown east side, whether you're unhoused or housed. So all of you who join us, who align with us, who support us by prayer, advocacy, finances, you are part of this legacy project that I guarantee will help uplift this community and what is intended to do. And I cannot thank all of you enough for continuing this journey with us. We will continue to be in this community working with you. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, I am going to pass it to Vincent. Vincent is one of our new hires. He is going to give us an amazing update on tenants' rights, which is what we're all about as well here at First United and the work. Vincent joined us just a handful of months ago, and he's already having to do some fun work of helping us write some motions for the city and just being absolutely responsive as we need to be in this community while we have the long game in mind to change these cycles that we call of oppression and poverty. So with that, I am so thrilled to welcome Vincent to share with us what you are up to and tell us a little bit more about you too, I hope. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Uh, yeah, my name is Vincent, staff lawyer, special projects. Really nice to meet everybody. I see some familiar faces, but I hope there's opportunities to connect with everybody at a different time. Um, I thought I might explain what I do actually at First United first to put this cooling rights stuff in context. So kind of three main areas. One is law reform. So kind of what Amanda talked about, writing submissions, doing research, and just help lobbying government and the residential tenancy branch to implement some of the policies that are beneficial for tenants and homelessness issues. And one of those is cooling rights, which I'll be talking about. But also I work on judicial review. So there's often procedural fairness issues at the RTB hearings. And so whenever we see these unfair RTB decisions, part of my role is to take that to court as part of a judicial review process, which is kind of like an appeal to have the decision set aside. And then the third area is just helping our advocacy program. So we have a really great group of frontline legal advocates, and they represent clients at the RTB. And so I help them by doing legal research, helping them with some more systemic or recurring issues. So finding like more bird's eye view solutions. So that's kind of what I do. But why are we talking about cooling rights? As our climate warms, we're seeing more and more extreme heat events happening. You'll remember the heat dome that happened in 2021. That's a really great example of what an extreme heat event is. And, recently we've seen some really good weather, really high temperatures. So it's a really good time to remind ourselves why climate change is going to be an even more important issue, right? So events like the heat dome are going to be 4 times as likely by year 2050. And we know that indoor temperatures are the greatest danger when it comes to heat deaths in these kind of events. So in the heat dome, there were 619 people who died, and 98% of those were from extreme indoor heat. And most of these people were people from vulnerable populations, so people with chronic diseases, people who are 70 years old and older, people who have no access to adequate cooling. For myself, I just remember the heat dome happened when I was studying for my bar exams. And I had to take the bar exam in my apartment without, there was no AC. So, but fortunately for me, I was able to steal my mom's portable air conditioner in time for the exam. So very lucky, but that's why we say that lack of indoor cooling is not only a life-threatening health hazard, but it's also a human rights and climate justice issue. So as temperatures rise, like it exacerbates these existing inequalities. And in this case, it's about whether you have the means to access cooling. And then cooling is also important for renters, right? So sometimes we see landlords unreasonably preventing tenants from using cooling devices like fans. And there's just a general lack of legal protections for folks who need it. So, and that's why cooling is a big focus at First United. We want to establish a right to cool. So what is missing in our current law? So when we talk about cooling, when we talk about air conditioning, we're really talking about housing standards. So we know that residential buildings were required to have heating. It needs to maintain a minimum temperature, and that's intuitive for us because, we don't want to like freeze in winter. But the idea that heat is also a health issue has not really caught up the law has not caught up. So in 2024, the building code was amended to institute this maximum temperature requirement. So now new builds requires cooling systems to maintain temperature of 26 degrees or lower. And that's a great first step, but that's only for new builds. There's no equivalent maximum temperature regulation in existing housing stock. And so that's the area that we're trying to tackle here. And again, there's a lack of renter protection. So, landlords can prohibit you from using fans or portable air conditioners, and tenants can dispute this at the RTB for being unconscionable, but that still requires tenants to have the time and resources to take up that fight, which is unfair burden, I would say. Um, so there is a lack of cooling rates. So what is First United doing to change this? So we've been working on two avenues to achieve cooling rates. One is obviously setting that maximum indoor temperature for existing housing. So that's through the city's standard of maintenance bylaw. So we would require property owners and landlords to have cooling systems in their properties to be in line with new builds under the building code, so 26 degrees and below. And this type of bylaw is already in place in cities like Mississauga and some southern cities in the United States with success. And one of the hurdles that we're facing with this is because the Vancouver Charter, which gives Vancouver powers, is weirdly worded. So Vancouver can regulate on minimum temperatures, but not maximum temperatures. So we've been actively pushing the province to change this. And once that happens, we obviously would advocate that the city go through with some sort of maximum temperature bylaw. Um, the second avenue is having some sort of legal provision to allow tenants to use their cooling devices without interference from landlords. And to that end, we've been pushing for um, a provision in the Residential Tenancy Act for that to happen, and we're continuing to see where that goes. So those are the two main areas in a nutshell on what we've been doing for cooling rights. I think this is an issue that is really important, and if it resonates, I would encourage you to do your own advocacy on the issue in your own way, in your own spheres of influence. Because I think in any law reform project, public support is really important. So I would encourage that. Um, yeah, so that's like a really condensed version of what we've been doing. But I'm happy to answer any questions on that later in our question period.
Thanks, Vinson. Thank you so, so much. I'm just endlessly impressed with your work with Sarah. Brings me a lot of joy. So that's our presentation. We have time for questions now, so feel free to pop something into the chat if you'd like, or you can unmute yourself. And maybe to get the ball rolling a little bit, if you had to use one word to describe the artwork we shared today, what word would you use? Feel free to unmute yourself and speak up, or pop it in the chat.
Nice cat.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. All right, Wendy needs more than one word. Wendy, you can use as many words as you want. Stunning and forward-looking, empowering, exciting, respectful, gives hope, bold, inspiring. Oh, these are fantastic. Marcia with "It is necessary and uplifts the neighborhood." Engaging. What other words? Healing. Thank you, Lauren. Yes. Justice. Strength and joy. we can't wait to show you guys what the building is going to look like, what these beautiful pieces of art will look like in reality. We're getting to go on site here and there, and we're starting to see it come to life. And it's very, very moving to see something that we've been working on for so many years come to fruition, and to see our values enacted in concrete. It's really, really exciting. We can't wait to share it all with you. Did folks have any questions about Vinson's work, pooling rights, or the op-ed? Or comments even? No, you guys read the
It's Heather.
Oh, Heather, yes.
So the op-eds, both both of them, are they just online, or are they going to be in print?
Yeah, today's op-ed was in today's edition of Vancouver Sun. It was published online last night and in the paper today.
Oh, good.
We like to keep them for posterity too, the print versions.
It's a very good op-ed. Just very, very thoughtful and respectful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Heather.
If I may say, one thing that I try and repeat often is the myth that people move to Vancouver. Like, it's really important for us to have that data set. If you look at homelessness in California, in New York, most of these states and these coastal provinces, we have the same statistics. So in Vancouver, 78% of people who become unhoused as a citizen of Vancouver, like they were living here. So this myth that people move here because of the weather or the view is really, really false. And it's everywhere. Like if you look at, like I said, housing crisis is everywhere in coastal cities, blue states, obviously in BC. And it's a really important data set. There are citizens, which I believe then requires us for a moral duty to respond that way and to come against false narratives like that. And even if it were to be true, everybody were to move here as a society, let's not just stop building housing for homeless people. Like, also, I could go off into another argument there, even if the data set was different. But because it is what it is, people become homeless living here. So let's look after people in Vancouver.
Can I comment or ask a question?
I
It's
don't know
my-
who that is, but I'm sure you can.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, Michael, of course you can.
Yeah.
Hi.
Here I am. I'm back. So the issue coming up this fall, of course, as we know, is the DOD change of zoning, which is going to have a dramatic impact, not only in that area, but on the city.
Yes. And the DEOD is the Downtown Eastside Oppenheimer District. So many of you folks, I'm sure, are aware that the Downtown Eastside is a constellation of many districts, which includes Chinatown, Gastown, Victoria Square, Hastings Corridor, and then this sort of the center of it, of the Main and Hastings Downtown Eastside Oppenheimer District, upon which First United is part of. And so this one particular district is zoned right now very specifically to 60% social housing, 40% market. A very unique zoning requirement that people like Michael fought for 10 years ago in 2014 as part of the Downtown Eastside Local Area Plan. So that's coming this November to public hearing to open that up, to make that 60% of social housing. The suggestion is to go to either 10 or 20%. And of that social housing, it's 20% shelter rate. So it's bad. Leading the witness, it's bad. The lawyer's on the call. It's not a great approach to solving homelessness and rezoning a neighborhood that is, built for people of low income. So there's clearly, there's a bigger conversation around that. We think that the market's going to solve homelessness. And if the market were to solve homelessness, I think it would have solved it by now. So we think that the market can't solve homelessness, and community housing, social housing needs to step up. So you will hear so much from us and other activists, and we're mobilizing so much. If you know the Wendy Petersons, the Jean Swansons, we're still out there and we're mobilizing, and it'll be massive, and we will keep you along this journey with us. We will know it. We think it's coming November, and we will have rallies and op-eds and commentary, and we'll see what happens. But that is the call, and they have a majority to vote for that change. And once it's zoned, it's zoned. So
I think, I'm sorry, I don't want, this isn't the topic of the meeting, really. Can you hear me? Okay, just to say that what's sad about it is that this policy is being initiated by the council without any look at the impact of it, not just on low income people, but on all the other neighborhoods in the Lower Mainland.
yeah, thank you for that. Well,
Are there any other questions? We can stray away from some of the topics that we covered today, and like Michael brought up, bringing up the Downtown East Side Local Area Plan. Any thoughts from folks? We've got about 2 minutes left. Ross, go ahead.
I just had a question, a kind of a follow-up for Vincent. You mentioned that if you encourage folks to kind of get involved with their own versions of advocacy, either to the province or the city. And I was just wondering if you could give us an example or some ideas about what might be the most effective way to do that. Is that reaching out to our councillors? Is that contacting our MLAs? Is there anything else you kind of think of that people can do on a regular basis, just on our own?
Yeah, I would think so, like emailing or writing a letter to your MLA, I mean, in terms of setting a maximum temperature like that, we haven't seen any movement on that from the province. We've advocated, we've sent a letter, etc. But like I think it would make a huge difference if people wrote to their MLAs and said that it mattered, right? And also in terms of like social media as well, like if you have social media, feel free to amplify the message, or even just talking to friends in your circle. I think that helps too, because sometimes people don't really understand what's at stake, right? And I think that's okay, but I think having someone that they trust talk to them about this important issue, I think really does make a difference.
here, indeed. Also, further to that, in September, the Union of BC Municipalities meets every year, the UBCM, and there's been a variety of municipalities in BC. Vancouver also last year called on the province to have max temperatures and it's very kind of meta, to put a resolution on the UBCM's resolution list on this September to talk about cooling rights. So that will more than likely be on that agenda, and I would be curious what would happen after that with the province and how their action, if they were to take action. There's also another resolution probably going forward where a whole bunch of municipalities passed motions to declare housing as a human right that is going to go forward at the UBCM as well, to then call on the province to declare housing as a human right. So there's two big things that could possibly be coming forward there that we would then take you along with that journey as well, and provide touch points and language and petitions and letter writing to add your name to as well, depending on how that falls and if they do make the agenda in September. But like what Vincent said, we can help harness that too in September with these specific calls to action and language.
So I think there will be some resources to tap into to help do your advocacy work, whether it's writing letters or social media or what have you. That there will be some help in framing that. And I believe, Amanda, you're going to be at that meeting.
Yeah, especially if housing is a human rights on the agenda, which wouldn't that be weird if it wasn't? Who knows? But also, by all means, You can write anything to your MLA right now and say it's not acceptable that people aren't allowed to keep cool in their apartments or have an access to stay cool. You can anytime.
So we're just at time here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you do have further questions, always feel free to reach out to us at info@firstunited.ca. And so many things have been discussed today about what's coming up in the fall. So the Downtown East Side Local Area Plan, that going back to council, we will be getting involved with that. We will be very loud. We will be sending out information for ways you can get involved. Similarly with the UVCM convention in September, keep your eyes peeled on your inboxes for ways to get mobilized. As Amanda also mentioned, volunteering. We're going to be relaunching our volunteer program, and we'll be doing a really significant call for volunteers. And what we didn't touch too much on today, but what will be coming is more artwork. So we have 3 house posts that will be positioned outside of the building, and we're really looking forward to sharing images and information about those house posts with you in the fall. So stay tuned for more. Make sure you get our emails and definitely come to the next Toast Talks in October, November. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. It was so good to see you all.